pair of Zoroarks.
Yep, sign of respect from the players. That opening handshake, Tord throws out both hands, and it's not an international championship if Tord doesn't have Bridget, right?
Exactly. Turn 1 Bridget for Tord Reklev. Like you said, we've seen this play over and over again throughout this tournament. Going to fill that bench up with 3 basic Pokemon. So what do you think this matchup is going to look like? I know earlier you said that you thought Tord was favored a bit. Why is that?
Yeah, I think Tord has an advantage strictly because he has so much special energy denial. He's playing a ton of Enhanced Hammer, even has Team Flare Grunt. So he's got a lot of ways to remove energy cards. And then, of course, he has Oranguru. He can use resource management and just start to pull those cards back together. So if he can get Stephane into a situation where he plays all of his energies down, which are all special energy cards because he plays unit energy, you might just see Stephane not be able to attack.
Yeah, all weekend we've seen Tord play a really long, grindy control game with this deck. At one point just having 0 cards in deck before resource management, just being able to basically stack his deck however he will want, playing these long, drawn-out games. It looks like this one will be no different.
Yep, he's just going and checking the counts right here. Sees all the Enhanced Hammers, the Oranguru as well. Parallel City is a pretty important card in this matchup. It limits the amount of damage that a Zoroark on the other side will be able to do. If it can't one-shot Oranguru, then you're going to get a lot of use out of him.
So we see that Bridget Tord shuffling, just getting 3 Zoroarks, going to go ahead and put those onto the bench. So say Tord is favored, how can Stephane kind of pull the match in his favor and maybe become international champion despite the odds against him?
Yes, well, the good news about Stephane's deck is that he's playing Garbodor. He can definitely lock out abilities, and if Tord isn't allowed to trade, then Tord's going to have a hard time winning.
We see a pass of the turn from Tord after playing that Bridget. Stephane's first turn, time to find some action. Zoroark in the active position. Going to go ahead and play down an Ultra Ball now.
Yep, pretty classic start from him here. I'm sure that we're going to see a Bridget as well after a Tapu Lele, and almost mirroring sides, potentially a Trubbish too, though, to start working on that Garbotoxin.
Yeah, in these Zoroark decks, you're really concerned with having your bench full of Pokemon, plus you want to have, of course, as many Zoroark GXs as possible to use trade over and over again. So the turn 1 classic play, Tapu Lele Wonder Tag into Bridget, is what we're going to see after Stephane takes just a few minutes to look through his deck, make sure he knows his prizes.
Yep, one thing for Stephane to worry about is that if he only plays down 1 Trubbish, Tord currently has 3 Pokemon on his bench. That means Right is beating from a Zoroark would be doing 80 damage. That's enough to knock out a Trubbish. So if Tord's holding on to cards like Zoroark, DCE, Guzma, he could just remove that 1 Trubbish from board and then really just target down any Trubbish that comes down for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so we may see Stephane have to set up a board of maybe something he doesn't really want to do, which is put down 2 Trubbish as well as a Zoroark, have fewer outs to Zoroark, but kind of protect himself from some Guzma plays on the next turn.
Yeah, it also puts him in a weird spot where if you only play down 2 Zorua, then it's just going to go after your Zoroark engine. So it's really awkward here if you don't get a lot of Pokemon down on the opening turn.
Looks like he has pulled a Zoroark and a Trubbish to the front of his deck, so he'll definitely be taking those, just considering what he wants to do with the 3rd slot. You think if given the chance, everything being equal, Tord will target down these Trubbishes, though?
Yeah, I think Tord's going to target down, if it's 2 and 2, he's going to target down Zorua, and if it's 1 Trubbish, then he should target down the Trubbish.
Looks like Stephane has pulled a Trubbish to the front of his deck. Again, interesting decision here. Not simple, but it looks like he is going to go with that 2nd Trubbish and protect himself, having more outs to Garbodor later.
He does have 1 Zorua and 1 Trubbish prized, if I saw that correctly, so these Pokemon might have to last him the rest of the game here.
There's that Bridget. Both players having similar turn 1s. Let's see if Stephane can put anything else together on his opening turn of the first game of the Masters Finals here in Columbus.
Yep. If he has an energy in hand, I don't expect him to play it. He knows that Tord has so much energy removal. Yeah, it looks like just a pass.
He doesn't want to open up an energy to Enhanced Hammer or something like that before he can actually get to use it. Here comes a Tapu Lele Wonder Tag coming down for Tord. Looks like he's going to take a Cynthia, refresh his own hand. Tord's always been a big fan of Tapu Lele. I know he was playing 4 at some point. He's playing 3 in this deck, I believe, even at the point where a lot of players are... Oh, he's actually a 4 in this as well, even after a lot of players are cutting down. So Zoroark's been Tord's friend throughout the season, just as Tapu Lele has, and it does find a Cynthia.
Yep. The man likes consistency, and unfortunately his hand is not up to par with all the other Zoroark hands that he may have seen throughout the rest of this tournament. He's actually holding on to some pretty weak cards. Probably just going to use that double colorless energy on the active spot and then just go hunting for his first Zoroark of the game.
Yeah, Tord has a lot of reactive cards. His deck is all about kind of disrupting the opponent and controlling the game. And so, when your opponent doesn't have anything on the board, they haven't really done anything. Field blowers and max potions don't exactly help.
That's a great mid-game hand when your opponent's trying to lock in Garbotoxin and you've got some damage on your active.
Exactly. So we are going to see a Cynthia come down, hopefully 6 new cards. What is he looking for in this top 6?
Well, definitely looking for Zoroark. That would be a really nice spot for him. Evo Soda is a great way to grab Zoroark and also thin out your deck a little bit, so maybe that in particular. Although he does want to keep an eye on how many item cards he plays, because he is playing against Trashalanche on the other side. Yeah,
Trashalanche can be a big deal. Let's see if he hits any Evo Sodas, any Zoroark we see. Immediately pulls the Evo Soda to the front of his hand. Will be having his Zoroark GX on the board this turn, ready to trade.
Yep, it's a very nice card for him to draw into, and trade will be upcoming. Just going to have to keep an eye on how many items he plays. You never want to go past that 10 threshold, and of course he's got resource management in the future. He could be using that to make sure that 10 is a number he avoids.
So there is the Zoroark GX, the star of the tournament, the star of the Pokemon format, really. Since its release, trade ability provides limitless consistency. Got Riotous Beating as well, very powerful attack for just a TCE.
And of course, these abilities do stack. So if he's able to draw into multiple Zoroark, you can see him draw upwards of 8 cards a turn. He's got a card like Mallow in his hand. It's nice for a future turn, so he probably wants to hold on to that.
We're going to see our first trade of the game for putting out his die there just to track how many there will be. Of course, only 1 Zoroark GX on the board, but that can very easily change. Floatstone gets turned into 2 cards from the top of the deck, and here's another Evo Soda for another Zoroark. And this is exactly what Tord wants to see here. This is how these decks win, is just constantly trading, trading in your cards that are useless in the moment for maybe some new ones off of the top and just kind of churning through your deck.
Yeah, it looked like the other card was actually Bridget, which is almost the perfect card to discard. It's not an item, and you don't need to use Bridget ever again. So
definitely the card that's been traded most, I think, in the lifetime of Zoroark GX being in the standard format.
Absolutely.
Now the second trade, that Bridget, like you said, 2 new cards for Tord.
And look at that, he's holding on to a Field Blower. It's the perfect card for him to have. It means that he'll definitely have access to his trades in the coming turn if he's not end.
There's a knockout by Tord, taking the first prize of the game, going down to 5. And yeah, exactly what you said. Stephane's going to really focus on trying to get that Garbotoxin up to say, okay, I really need to shut off these trades. We just spent the last few minutes talking about how powerful they are, but Tord is already prepared with that Field Blower.
Stephane, being the good man that he is, he's going to give us that item count throughout the rest of the game there. He's got those 3 pips on the die, signifying that his Trashalanche would currently be doing 40 damage into that Zoroark.
And there is a Garbotoxin Garbodor. No tool, so Garbotoxin is not active quite yet, but we're going to see both players shuffle their hands in. Tord's going to get 5 new cards, and Stephane's going to get 6.
And this is a very important draw for Stephane. He needs to find a Zoroark this turn. If Tord was able to find a Guzma on the following turn and knock out that Zorua, we know he only has 1 left in deck. He'd have to be able to find Rescue Stretcher, and it starts to get ugly after that point. All
right, big end here, and it looks like he does find the Zoroark GX, 2 copies in fact, as well as the Trashalanche Garbodor. So Stephane is still in the game. Going to activate some traits of his own.
He'd love to find double colorless energy here. Also, any tool would be nice.
Yeah, currently doesn't have either of those cards, but again, he does have access to that trade ability. Looks like that's what he's going to do. Trade those in for 2 new cards. Does find the double colorless.
Yeah, double colorless means he can get some damage onto the Zoroark if he needs to. Also, that Rescue Stretcher is very nice for the Zorua. He does have another Zoroark in hand, so if that's not targeted down, we could see him get multiple trades going in the future.
There is an energy drive from Tapu Lele GX, just softening up that Zoroark a bit. Action is back on Tord. Rescue Stretcher is the top deck.
Yeah, now over to Tord's side, you see he's got Enhanced Hammer in his hand. That's a great way to remove that energy card. And Tord's really going to be looking for a Guzma here. I fully expect him to either target down that Zorua so that trades are limited, or he can take out that Garbotoxin Garbodor and never have to worry about losing his potential trades.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that makes Zoroark so powerful. Is you're looking at Tord's hand, and he has a lot going on, whatever, but he's just going to get 6 new cards. He's just trading all of these in, churning through his deck so quickly, and that's before he even chooses to use a supporter.
Fawn's actually really close to a dangerous number, only 4 cards in hand, and Tord's holding onto a Delinquent right now.
Yeah, this Delinquent, one of the more disruptive cards in the format. It's kind of waned in popularity a little bit, depending on the metagame, but we've seen Tord use it to great effect, discarding a Stadium in play and then making your opponent discard 3 cards, sometimes just completely putting them out of the game. I think that is the 3rd trade from Tord.
Yep, he's just going to check the item count here, see what's going on with Stephane. He hasn't played too much, honestly. Oh, that 1 rescue stretcher, though, it does mean that he does have limited resources as far as if he was able to continue to knock out Zoruas.
Which may be Tord's game plan here. Like you said, he's looking for a Guzma, and he has the option of getting it now with the Tapu Lele Wonder Tag.
Yep. Now, Tord is holding onto a Field Blower, so he may feel a little safe going after Zorua, but he could just go for the Garbotoxin right now, clear that out of the way. He has seen a Rescue Stretcher down, so maybe that's his option here, too.
All right, if you're in his seat, what are you doing? But before he does it, what do you make the call, Kyle?
Oh, he's got 4 cards in hand. I'd go after Zorua. I'm not too worried right now, but he's got a lot of cards that can help him out. That Field Blower is really nice, and it's just hard for Stephane to get the Garbo locked in with an N right now with just 4 cards.
Right, Tord does take that Guzma off the Wonder Tag. Looks like that will be the game plan this turn. He does agree with you. He's going to go ahead and take that Zorua, locking Stephane out of too many trades, limiting his draw potential. Here's a double colorless on the Zoroark GX. Full bench variety is beating, but not before Enhanced Hammer comes down, moving the double colorless, something you said would be huge in the game as Stephane only plays Special Energy, and that's 1 down. There's a knockout. Tord Reklev goes to 4 prizes. Yep, and he's drawing into one of his favorite cards, Puzzle of Time. When he can get multiple of those going, he can basically just get whatever he wants, and Guru lets him draw into that over and over and over again. Yeah, Puzzle of Time really one of the cards that makes this deck tick. There is a Parallel City on Stephane's side, limiting Tord's bench quickly. Just throws away a couple of Pokemon, leaving just his Zoroark family in play. Easiest decision towards life right there. Action back on Stephane. There is the Garbotoxin Garboter and an N. 6 cards for Stephane, 4 for Tord, but again, unless Stephane can get that Garbotoxin locked up, Tord will be able to just kind of churn through his deck with those trades and not really worry too much about how many cards he starts his turn with. Yep, he does have multiple energy on board, so multiple attackers. And Stephane is going to need to find that tool card and hopefully a double colorless energy to get a little pressure going along with it. When you're locking out abilities, if you're not attacking along with that, you're not really doing too much. It is a lot to ask for, but it looks like he has found the double colorless, but no tool? Yeah, he's got 2 potential cards to see it. Field Blower gets traded away for Kartana and Ultra Ball. Not what he was looking for, but he does find another Zorua, hopefully activating some more trades later in the game. Yep, he's got a decision to make. He's got an Ultra Ball in hand and doesn't really want to play out that last spot in his hand because he wants to play Tapu Lele on the following turn with that Ultra Ball to find a supporter maybe. So really going to see what Stephane's strategy here is. Does he need to limit the damage now? He thinks that's going to help him. Cortana hits the bench, double colorless goes away. Riot is beating on Tord's active Zoroark GX, and action is back on Tord. Puzzle of Time is the draw. Double puzzle in hand now. Again, one of the key cards that really makes this deck function. We've seen Tord just abuse the Puzzle of Time, resource management, trade loops throughout this tournament. It looks like this game will be no different. Is there any better feeling than when you lose your special energy and you get 120 damage on you, and then you have a max potion in hand? That's pretty sweet. Tord taking a look through his discard pile, maybe considering what he wants to take with Puzzle of Time, considering the resources he's gone through already. Counter Catcher, a double puzzle, max potion in hand, he just has it all. Yeah, this is definitely going to be pretty sweet for Tord. He's got a lot of options here. Counter Catcher's not one of them, so I'm going to throw that away quickly. Weakness Policy, Ultra Ball. Also not too relevant here. We see that Weakness Policy quickly traded away for 2 new cards. This is kind of the power, I think, of specifically Tord's deck is that, you know, he when he's using these resources, he's really not using them, right? He just has Puzzle of Time to get them back. You know, we saw the Kartana blow up the special energy. He's just going to get it right back with Puzzle of Time. Max Potion is going to get rid of all the damage. He's going to buy back all those cards with Oranguru. He's feel free to just use whatever cards he wants to dig for whatever he needs at that exact moment, knowing he can rebuy all of his resources.
Absolutely. Now, Tord did find Field Blower, so that means he could remove Parallel City from play. He might also just want to hold on to it for potential Garbotoxin. And we are hitting that critical point as far as items go, 11 now. That means that Trashalance with a Choice Band would be able to knock out any of these Zoroarks.
Or just deciding I need to play these cards is a little bit more important than protecting myself from potential Trashalanches in the future. Gonna go ahead and take one more look through his discard pile. Double Puzzle, always a interesting spot to be in because it's so powerful, but it's also just so important. You don't want to mess it up. Especially if you're playing a normal deck where you can only actually play Double Puzzle twice, but Tord can afford to be a little bit looser here if he chooses.
I think he's one Pokemon away from being at a happy spot where he could be able to do 120 damage into Trashalance, just remove that as an option. Now with the Tapu Lele grab, that means he could grab a Guzma and then start to work on Garbotoxin or the Zorua again. Just really depends on what he's feeling here.
Yeah, he does have that Field Blower pulling into the front of his hand, and it will just go ahead and get rid of that Parallel City. Now Tord can open his bench up to allow him to play that Tapu Lele Wonder Tag. Grabbing a Guzma just as you predicted, deciding, you know, I'm getting rid of my Field Blower, so I won't be able to deal with the Garbotoxin, but hey, you have no Trubbish on board, I'm just going to go ahead and deal with it now.
Yeah, I mean, this guarantees that no Garbotoxin is going to be available for at least 2 turns if he does choose to go with that route. He will likely be knocked out by Trashalance. All that Stephane needs is that unit energy, which I believe he is holding on to. But it's a pretty solid trade for Tord here.
Yeah, maybe taking some immediate risk to lock the game up later. Some little protection there as we see Guzma on the Garbodor, the fresh Zoroark coming into play. Double colorless gets attached, and we will see the knockout this turn.
Yeah, very strong play from Tord. I think he's also going to hold on to that Max Potion in his hand because it's just nice to have the energies in play if your Zoroark is going to get knocked out.
All right, Tord down to 3 prizes halfway through this game. Maybe halfway to winning a game and potentially winning another international championship.
And down 1 Garbotoxin, down 1 Rescue Stretcher. Stephane is probably going to have a hard time turning off any abilities from this point on.
Unit energy on the Garbodor, like you said, Trashalanche is ready. Tord has played a lot of items, powering up that attacking Garbodor there, but not before as Cynthia on Stephane's side, giving him 6 fresh cards. Do you think at this point Stephane is going to keep focusing on trying to build up the Garbotoxin Garbodor, or is it too late?
Yeah, it might be a little too late for him here. He's definitely still going to want to find a Trubbish, but I think it's only going to be for Trashalance purposes.
At this point in the game, so many of his Garbotoxins have been dealt with. Tord just has so much already that might be a little too late to try anything fancy. May just want to get some raw power on the board.
Yep, I mean, if in some weird way Stephane was able to chain together 3 of these Trashalance Garbodor, he would have 3 knockouts lined up, and Tord has a really difficult way knocking out Pokemon GX in 1 hit. It's actually impossible for him. He doesn't play anything else that lets him do any more than 130 damage.
Again, Tord's deck is more about kind of winning the long game, not putting as much raw power on the board and just saying, okay, this is fine, I can go behind, I can take some 2-hit knockouts because I'm just going to disrupt whatever you're doing. There's a big knockout. Trashalance takes out the Zoroark GX on Tord's side. 2 prizes for Stephane. And
big note is that Stephane did not find that Trubbish until just now. He wasn't able to get it onto his bench, so that means that Stephane's damage output is limited if this Trashalance Garbodor were to fall, but he put Tord in a pretty difficult spot. He was able to land the Parallel City, and Tord's also played a lot of Pokemon down. I think he has a Rescue Stretcher in the discard pile too, so finding the amount of Pokemon that he needs to fill his bench could be pretty difficult.
Yes, he has filled his bench at this point under Parallel City Lock with that Tapu Lele using the Wonder Tag ability. It's like he's eyeing up a Bridget to take.
Yep, he does have Oranguru, Mew, and the other Tapu Lele in his deck. So he has those options available to him. Don't expect to see that Mew, though.
Oranguru, a Pokemon that we've seen Tord do a lot of work with. When and do you think Oranguru comes into play in this matchup?
It can come in if he's not worried about Trash Lance finishing the game, and if Tord has a Parallel City in play. That means that Stephane would be limited to only 80 damage, and if he thinks he can get multiple uses out of Oranguru at that point, then it's a really safe spot to use Resource Management.
Kind of has to wait until he slows down the aggression a little bit on Stephane's side before he can start being tricky, refilling his deck with that Oranguru. But Bridget is what Tord will take off that Tapu Lele GX. I do think we have the Field Blower as well in Tord's hand, so he can deal with the Parallel City, fill his bench again if he wishes. Looks like the first trade's coming up. There goes Sycamore.
Yeah, interesting that so late in the game he actually thinks Bridget's better than Sycamore, and he's correct.
Wants to get Pokemon on his bench, just knock out this Trashalanche, eliminate that threat. Not going to need to draw 7 cards. He's already drawing so many with trade.
He did draw into that Mew. It's probably a card that isn't going to be too useful here.
Yeah, Mew, really, really powerful in some matchups, but also just kind of completely nonsense in some, and it's going to go straight to the discard pile with trade. 2 more cards.
Yeah, and if his plan was to use Bridget, a little awkward for him. He drew into Oranguru, so that means that that's 1 less card that he could have potentially drawn into. He could have just drawn into something like Double Colorless Energy or something that would have been useful for him. Instead, he found the Oranguru now.
Yeah. Field Blower removes the Parallel City of Tord's own, coming down and limiting Stephane's bench to just Zoroark, and Kartana. Here's that Bridget we were talking about. Not going to be the most value Bridget he's ever played.
Can't even Wonder Tag, but it's doing what it needs to do right now.
Tapu Lele coming down, just acting as a spot to fill the bench for a riotous beating. Of course, only getting 1 Pokemon. As we said, that Oranguru in his hand. This deck of Tord getting pretty thin. He's gone through a lot of resources and how this deck functions. There's the Oranguru.
Yep, that's going to be very nice for him. That means that 120 damage is available now.
And there's the knockout toward Reklev. Just 2 prizes remain on his side of the board in Game 1 here in the finals of the North American International Championship.
Tord also very sneakily was able to throw in that Parallel City. That Parallel City means that the max damage that Stephane is going to be able to find, at least with that Parallel in play, is only 110 damage with a Choice Band. So Stephane's going to have to use a Field Blower to remove that Parallel City and find some more bench Pokemon.
Yeah, we were just saying how Tord has a problem taking, GX knockouts, kind of limiting, has a kind of a damage cap, and kind of Tord's making Stephane play on his level now, saying, all right, if I can't do it, either can you. You're going to be limited on your bench as well. Only 1 bench slot remaining for Stephane.
This is a good spot for Stephane, though. He does have Double Puzzle. He has Trubbish as well, so that means that he does have that threat of Trash Lance coming in the future.
We do see Double Puzzle, any 2 cards out of the discard pile. Looks like Field Blower dealing with the Parallel City threat is going to be one of them. A look of concentration on Stephane's face. Again, Double Puzzle, very powerful effect. Got to do some thinking. Double Field Blower, and still has to consult his hand.
Yep, just check, sees there are 2 Pokemon in that hand. So he will be able to take the knockout if he does grab Choice Band. So that's probably the clear choice here for him.
All right, 2 item cards in the hand. There goes the Parallel City. That's off the board. No longer worrying about that. Trubbish comes down. Hopefully building up another Trashalanche Garbodor, which we see he has in hand. Tapu Lele Wonder Tag.
Does he have an end left?
I do believe I saw 1 when he was going through. It looks like he's going to take Guzma.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Tord is only down to 2 prize cards, but can't see just how many cards are in his hand there. He is going to be able to remove a Zoroark from play, so you'd think if Stephane was able to use an N along with removing a Zoroark, leaving Tord with just 2 cards in 1 trade, that'd be pretty sweet for him, but looks like he's got a different plan potentially.
When you can see how important this decision is too, he's looking through towards this card, probably looking through his hand. Like he knows that whatever supporter he decides to play this turn is going to be huge and really shape the course of the game. So taking his time, making sure he doesn't make any mistakes, and Guzma is the choice. Speaking of choice, choice band goes on the active Zoroark GX. Guzma still in hand.
Counts it out. It looks like Stephane already has an N in hand, so basically just leaving himself with a few options here.
Powering up that Zoroark GX on the bench with a double colorless energy. Looks like he is pulling the N to the front of his hand. Gonna try to limit Tord down to just 2 cards before he can activate that trade ability. Of course, Float Stone coming down on the Trubbish.
Yep, I like this. He doesn't need a choice band for Trashalanche, and if he is in some weird scenario where he wants to use double puzzle for Garbotoxin, he of course would have that option there.
1 tool card granting free retreat, but also turning on the potential future Garbotoxin, as you said. 4 cards for Stephane, 2 for Tord. Of course, Tord will have access to many more after trades.
Trade to.
Oh, is that?
This actually could be pretty scary.
All right, 2 cards. There's a knockout. 2 prizes remaining for Stephane. The game is tied up Tord with only 1 Zoroark GX in play, only 1 trade available to him.
Did not find anything to work with Parallel City, Acerola, and Enhanced Hammer. So if he wants to find more cards, going to have to find Zoroarks or a better supporter.
Goodbye, Acerola. Comes 2 new cards. Is that another Parallel City?
It's a Reverse Valley and a puzzle.
There comes the Parallel City. Goodbye, Tapu Lele, but no other real plays by Tord here. He just has to pass the turn back.
Wow, and Stephane, he has 15 items over in the Tord's discard pile, potentially more now. So if he can find a way to get double puzzle, maybe Guzma up a Tapu Lele, he would definitely be able to win this game here.
All right, first step, Evo Soda. Going to look through his deck, evolve one of his Pokemon. We know it's going to be a Trashalanche Garbodor.
This is big.
He'll be able to pull it off this turn.
Yeah. I think he has 1 unit energy left in the deck yet, sitting at the top, and he has that 1 puzzle. He has 1 puzzle in his hand as well. Has 2 trades available. So there's certainly some outs for him here.
Stephane Ivanoff potentially this turn will advance 1 game up over Tord, counting things out, making sure he knows what's going on, activating the first trade.
There might be a guaranteed route where if he field blowers himself, then he uses Sycamore, he could go find double puzzle. No, he actually loses his puzzle that he has in his hand there. So it gets a little trickier here. We'll see how he comes to solve this problem. I mean, if he has another Floatstone in his deck, then that's one way to get there too.
A Field Blower gets traded off for Enhanced Hammer, and N does have that Field Blower in hand. Just needing the unit energy here.
He's holding it. He just needs to find a way to switch out his Pokemon.
Considering dropping it now. Going to take some time to look through the discard pile. Huge moment for him. Huge game, huge match, of course, but this turn could radically change things. No way to move that Zoroark GX out of the active position as of now. Unit energy on the Garbodor.
Yeah, wanted to check before committing that unit energy. How many Enhanced Hammer has Tord played? Passing the turn here.
Has a pass turn back. All right, Tord gets another turn. Double colorless energy off the top of the deck. We're going to see a trade. Goodbye, Reverse Valley.
Mallow.
Double colorless Mallow.
That doesn't really do it for him.
It doesn't really change much. It can change how the next turn is going to look if Tord actually gets another turn. But with that trade already used, the Mallow is not going to affect anything this turn. Double colorless, of course, allowing him to attack if he wishes, but
like we saw 9 or 10 cards for Stephane there.
Looks like 10 to me. So pretty.
He gets to see half his deck. That means half of his deck could have that puzzle of time that he's been looking for.
And Tord knows it too. He's looking through the discard pile, just thinking, okay, what are your outs? What have you played? How do I lose here? How do I win? Here comes a Mallow. Usually you want to see a play pattern where you Mallow, put 2 cards on top, and then draw them immediately with trade. But again, Tord only has 1 trade ability. He's already used it.
Actually, I think he only has 1 Zoroark left in his deck, and just that 1 puzzle, so...
Was Puzzle Enhanced Hammer, I think, was what he took there with the Mallow. Tord's deck not being kind to him here.
Yeah, and he's sitting on only about 12 cards of his own. So he's played his deck very low. He just hasn't been able to find the right cards he needs to close out this game. And it looks like Stephane is going to have that opportunity again.
All right, so Mallow puts Puzzle of Time Enhanced Hammer on top. Tord consulting the discard pile. He knows that he's very, very close to losing this game if Stephane just finds another Puzzle of Time. Counting the deck out, doing the math, running the numbers. Can I survive? Can I win this game? Double colorless coming down on the Zoroark and a pass of the turn. All right, action back on.
Attacking actually means that Acerola opens up as an option if Stephane has that card.
Choice band off the top. Here comes a trade.
There's Guzma.
Trade just finds the Guzma. Guzma, there we go. Stephane Ivanoff, 1 game up here in the finals of the International Championship. 1 game away from dethroning Tord Reklev. 1 game away of pulling off the upset and becoming the North American International Champion.
Yeah, definitely expect a big sigh of relief for Stephane. That was very, very close. He had to work so hard. Was having a hard time finding that last Trubbish, able to find it off the 3rd and 4th prize cards, and then was able to set up that last Trashalanche, which was able to get him the distance. Tord just not able to fill his bench, not able to target down Trashalanche, and we're going on to game 2.
And the game really showcased the power of Zoroark GX on both sides. I mean, Tord would have had a very different game if he had multiple Zoroarks in play the turn that the active one got knocked out. And then at some point, for Stephane, it just kind of becomes inevitable, right? Oh, he has 9 cards left in his deck. He needs to hit, he has 2 outs. He's drawing through half of his deck. Like, that's just the raw power of Zoroark GX and what it allows you to do.
Yep. And speaking of inevitability, the amount of item cards that Tord had to play to get to a winning stage, he had 15 in there. And Trashalanche just loves that. Stephane found his opportunity, was able to clutch.
So do you think that Tord might play a little bit differently, might play a little safer with these item cards, or do you think that should be his strategy and he just got a little bit unlucky with his draws that last game?
No, I think he played it out fairly well. He had a hard time finding Parallel City in combination with the Oranguru. If he's able to work that out, then he can start to pull items out of his deck, and then he doesn't have to worry about the 1-hit potential. And that just never really happened for him. So maybe if he can work that out earlier in game 2, we can see that happen.
Yeah, Tord just kind of never got to the point where he could afford to kind of take turns off, set things up. You just need to be aggressive every turn. All right, opening hands going into game 2. Looks like both players have found a basic Pokemon. No mulligans on this side. Tapu Lele is the active for Tord.
Stephane's hand looked pretty good. I don't know if I saw anything out of Tord's hand, though.
Zoroark GX and the prizes for Tord. Stadium, some supporter cards looking over at Stephane's. 2 field blower. All right, handshake, and we are off. Tord Reklev will be playing first here. Guzma off the top. Can he stay in this tournament? Can he become the 4-time international champion? Just Puzzle of Time on turn 1.
Oh, that last card, though, he found, and he also has Cynthia, so that was really scary. His hand is actually just no playable cards. He had double Puzzle of Time.
He just has to pass the turn back. Luckily, Cynthia is on top for him, but Tord basically taking the first turn off.
And, everything is going Stephane's way here. He has the Tapu Lele, so that means he will be able to get his Pokemon into play, and he doesn't have to worry about a potential knockout here. There are no Zoruas, so no Zoroark Riotous beating is going to happen on turn 2.
This is going to be a pretty silly, looking at the differences between the turn 1 boards here after this Wonder Tag finds Bridget for Stephane.
I gave you a whole turn, and this is what you did? You puzzled?
Usually going first a huge advantage, but Tord just has nothing there. Did get to rearrange the top, so next turn he'll start, but still being a turn behind, especially when you had the ability to go first, just basically a strict advantage is huge.
Yeah. We could even see Stephane go for triple Zorua and just start to push the aggression here. He already has a Zoroark in hand. He knows the Trubbish can't be knocked out, so that's one of the safer times that you can just go with a singular Trubbish.
All right, Bridget is coming down. Optimal turn 1 play for Stephane. Going to go ahead and fill that bench up. We're getting 2 Zoroarks, and he does just go for the triple Zoroark.
This is my man here. He knows what he's doing.
Wants to push the aggression, wants to take advantage of the opening that Tord has given him. Triple Zoroark onto the bench. And again, Stephane also doesn't know what's on top of Tord's deck, right? He could be thinking, all right, man, Tord
just looked at 3 terrible cards. Let's finish this game in 2 turns.
Become international champion. Defeat Tord, show that he is indeed mortal. On shuffling up, building up that board of potential Zoroarks for next turn. Looks like he does have 1 Zoroark GX in hand, and he passes back Cynthia off the top for Tord, trying to get back in this game. All right, these 6 new cards are going to be very, very important, kind of determine if Tord is still in this game or not.
Yeah, now over on the other side, Stephane, he doesn't have a way to immediately knock out just 1 Zorua in his hand. So if Tord were able to find a Zorua, it could potentially be safe. So 1 Zorua is certainly the way he needs to start. Multiple would definitely be the way to go.
All right, let's see. Shuffling the hand in. 6 new cards. Needs some basic Pokemon. Needs some resources to stay in this game.
Only 6 cards to do it. He does have Ultra Ball as a way to find Zorua, but he only has 4 Zorua, obviously, in his deck. So
it's likely that Tord hits something here. It'd be pretty unlucky not to hit at least something. We do see an Ultra Ball.
Double weakness policy. Mew.
Actually, still not a
Max
great
Potion.
hand.
Yeah, he might have to just Ultra Ball here for Tapu Lele to find himself a supporter for the following turn because he's worried about Floatstone Garbotoxin.
Yeah, so Tord's still in this game because of the Ultra Ball draw and the Zorua, but wow, not the 6 cards he wanted to see. Would like you said, would like to have 2 Zoroarks on the bench, but just isn't going to be able to. He just needs to keep himself, give himself a chance to actually win the game. And that's where we're going to see the Tapu Lele Wonder Tag come down here. And again, he'll be kind of in the same position he was last turn, where he's just trying to reset the supporter in his hand and just waits until the next turn.
This is definitely what Tord needs to do here. The cards in his hand aren't helping him, so going with the most aggressive supporter in his deck, that Professor Sycamore, going to find 7 cards for him on the following turn.
Wonder Tag, Sycamore, and I didn't see the other cards in Tord's hand, but I think it's just going to be a pass. I don't think he had anything to do.
Max Elixir. Not Max Elixir, Max Potion.
Literally unplayable Max Potion at the moment. And wow, what a disappointing opening 2 turns for Tord. And he just passes the turn back. All right, Stephane knows he has an opportunity to strike. Zoroark GX hits the bench.
Also
up
found
one trade.
Floatstone. And he does have Garbotoxin in hand. Of course, you want to use those trade abilities first.
It's like he's getting rid of that Garbotoxin to trade.
Yeah, he does have Rescue Stretcher in hand, so I don't mind this order of operations at all.
It's pretty much free there. Floatstone goes on the active Trubbish, going to allow it to retreat and potentially turn on Garbotoxin later in the turn.
Well, his only supporter that could find him double colorless energy would be N. He also doesn't want to play down Garbotoxin without potentially finding more Zoroark, so a little bit of an awkward spot here for Stephane. Might just use N and then try to find Garbotoxin on a future turn.
Yeah, something that really hasn't come up in the match yet is that Garbotoxin, of course, does turn off your own abilities as well, so that's going to limit your ability to trade and draw through your card just as much as it's going to limit Tord. That's what we're going to see. Rescue Stretcher brings the Garbodor back to hand, and then it goes right into the deck again off of an N.
I love this. A lot of players would say, why aren't you just holding on to that Rescue Stretcher? You could grab the Garbotoxin at any time. Well, this opens up for cards like Ultra Ball, Evo Soda to go and find that Garbotoxin for him as he shuffled it back into the deck now.
Disciplined play by Stephane, resetting both players' hands. Who knows, maybe Tord will draw another dead 6 cards. It's done it twice now.
And not used to seeing this out of Tord, just a very weak draw.
Double colorless energy is what Stephane's looking for here, and he hits it. Parallel City, Choice Band. There you go, Parallel, limiting Tord's bench a bit. There's a double colorless.
Not much to go with it, though. Has Acerola, Guzma in hand, so would be able to to fight back if Tord is able to come up with anything.
Go ahead and Riot is beating. Looks like Tord does have the max potion in hand, heal off all of that damage, and an end of his own.
Yeah, did not want to play any of those cards. Don't even know if he could. A lot of those were unplayable. Cards like Counter Catcher.
Yeah, again, a lot of Tord's deck is very, very reactive. It's focused on disrupting the opponent. And when you just kind of, you can have awkward draws like he's had where you're drawing max potions with no damage on the board. You're drawing hammers with no energy on your opponent's side. Just if you draw the wrong half of the cards, it can be really tough. Again, usually you're not doing that because you have so many Zoroarks in your deck. You can kind of trim through whatever you need. But Tord with just a lone Zoroark, no Zoroark GX yet throughout this game.
Yeah, Zoroark GX is a big card for him to pick up here. Evo Soda is another way to get there. Also would love to find another Zorua.
All right, we do have the Zoroark GX, so it looks like Tord can start getting things going. Field Blower as well if he needs to remove that Parallel City.
Yeah, I think we might see Tord hold on to that Field Blower for a future turn. Does have Enhanced Hammer, so that's one way he could potentially slow down Stephane.
Tord is going to use trade, deciding which card he wants to get rid of. Redundant double colorless energy hits the discard pile.
Find Zoroark, but there's no Zorua to go with it.
Does have the Ultra Ball, but just deciding to Enhanced Hammer off the DCE on the active Zoroark and pass the turn.
Yeah, pretty weak over there from Tord. Was able to find his first Zoroark, though.
The first Zoroark does unlock a lot, but as we saw last game, you really want to have multiples there. That's when you start kind of chaining into good reactive cards and threats. Trubbish hits the bench for Stephane. There is another double colorless energy to replace the one that Tord enhanced away. And it looks like another N is coming down.
Yeah, he's going to give Tord a few more cards, but for Stephane, this isn't too bad. It looks like he's probably going to start taking a prize lead in the future, so the more Ns he plays now means the more Cynthias he has later.
Yeah, the Ns are kind of at their best here when they're drawing Stephane's 6 cards, and he is the aggressor in this matchup, so he's wisely just trying to thin his deck of them, hopefully only have better supporters for later in the game. 6 cards for both players.
Stephane going to have his eye on more Zoroarks. He would also love to go and find that Garbotox and Garbodor.
And he hits the Zoroark, activating his first trade now. And one more available to him so far.
Has one puzzle at a time in hand, so maybe a second one off the top would be able to unlock the code here and get him that Garbotox. And don't know if he has Ultra Ball in there or not.
Thinking about what he wants to discard with this second trade ability. It's always an interesting point in games like these where you know that you have the opportunity to be ahead. You know you are a little bit ahead, but you just need the right cards to kind of push the aggression.
Oh, Ultra Ball.
Ultra Ball off the top of that trade means that Garbotoxin will be online this turn.
Hey, do it with one
Mysterious
card cheaper.
Treasure, all right.
That works out just fine.
More efficient play. Mysterious Treasure going to go ahead and find a Garbodor. And now Garbotoxin will be online. Tord will not have Actilay. And Stephane just kind of crawling forward, really pushing his advantage, kind of pushing Tord out of the game each and every turn.
Yep. A lot of players, if you don't know when you're about to play down that Garbodor, there's a checklist when you're playing this deck. It's, well, do I have a way to remove the item so that I could continue to draw cards? That's one way that you should be able to play it. Do I have an energy so that I can continue attacking? And then do I have a supporter card so that I can draw out of this because I just turned off all my abilities? He's got 2 of the 3, so definitely a safe turn to play down that Garbotoxin ability.
Looks like Tord also has a Delinquent. Thinking about if he wants to play that, he does. Let's get rid of that Parallel City, open up some bench slots, and he will be leaving Stephane with 2 cards in hand. Typically, you do want to just wait until your opponent has 3 or less, but in a deck like Tord's, he just needs to get rid of all the resources on his opponent's side. There's a Parallel City of his own. Tapu Lele and potentially Zoroark saying goodbye?
Yeah, don't mind this at all. With the item count the way it is, and eventually the way it'll just have to be for Tord to stay in this game, 5 will turn into 10, which will turn into 20. And Trash Lunch will be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Trash Lunch also has the advantage of being a 1-prize attacker, so much more efficient way of getting there, and Tord passes the turn back.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to commit anything right now. It's just easier for him to let this Tapu Lele get knocked out and then maybe find some use out of Counter Catcher along with that Field Blower could potentially put Stephane in an awkward spot.
He kind of wants to time the field blower to turn off Gyro Toxin when he can actually take advantage of it. There is the first knockout of the game. Stephane going down to just 4 prizes remaining. All he needs to take is those 4 prizes on your screen, and he will become the international champion.
Stephane holding all 3 cards on that checklist, so feels pretty good here.
Another counter catcher off the top for Tord. Counter catcher now turned on, allowing him to gust up that Trubbish. And going to go ahead and take a look. Each player taking a look through the other's discard pile, looking through what resources have been used so far. What do you think Tord is looking to do this turn?
Yeah, this is a hard turn for Tord. He really just doesn't have too much going for him, so he probably just has to pass.
Passing again. Trubbish in the active position. For how long? Double puzzle in Stephane's hand. Double puzzle allowing him to play any cards he wants from his discard pile.
Thankfully, Fordham's 7 with a unit energy and a choice band could have meant a knockout on this Tapu Lele.
And there is that double puzzle of time. Looks like Mysterious Treasure and Zora, perhaps a lot of options. Any 2 cards he wants.
Yeah, he's thinking, let's target down this Zoroark. If I can remove this from play, how does Tord win?
There is the Guzma to do just that.
Maybe he wants to get a little more damage down, so Zorua is a great way to do that. He's got Field Blower in hand, could remove Parallel City, get his damage output to 100, and then it's just 1 more Pokemon from there for 120 for that 220 knockout.
Looks like Stephane agrees with you. There's the Field Blower. Parallel City in the discard pile. Zora hits the bench. Guzma trying to take out Tord's lone way of actually getting back into this game. Zora GX face off here. All right, 100 damage going back to Tord.
Tord can buy a little more time, has another counter catcher in his hands, but Parallel City along with a few unplayable Zoroarks, he's got nothing to work with here. He can try to buy a little more time, and that's all.
And Parallel City comes down again, but Zora just goes to the discard pile. Stephane just not valuing it.
He's used to the discard pile. He just came from there.
That's his true home. And again, Tord looking through his own discard pile.
Also, 100 damage is so important. Even if Stephane is not able to get through this Parallel City, just a choice band would be able to get him the knockout.
And there is the Floatstone retreat. Tord taking his first real action, just saying, all right, this Zora, I got to protect this Zoroark if I'm going to actually win. Here's this Tapu Lele for you. Can't quite knock it out yet.
Stephane does have that Cynthia in his hand, could play this double colorless energy before. If Tord had a way to remove special energies, he would have already done it by now, so it seems like a pretty solid play to just get that onto the board now. Give yourself more potential outs to find game-winning cards here soon.
We have 2 double colorless on the board, 2 Zoroark GX fully set up, 6 fresh cards for Stephane. A couple of supporters, Ultra Ball, and there's the Trashalanche Airboater.
And a unit energy, so start to see how the pieces are going to align. Even if Tord is going to find a card like a Sycamore, something that could get him out of this spot, the item count would just be horrendous for him.
There's a Riotous Beating for 80 damage. Top deck for Tord is Zoro, I think?
Yeah.
Nothing that's going to swing the game. Yeah, he just plays it onto the bench.
Could just turn into another Pokemon to absorb some shots while he's waiting to get out of this
Tord has
situation.
to pass yet again.
Guzma.
Off the top for Stephane.
Currently just 10 short, actually, of a knockout here with Trashalanche into the Zoroark. If he wants to target down Zorua, that's an option for him.
Looks like that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, being 10 short's a little unfortunate. If he had a Field Blower, he'd actually just be able to get there by removing the Floatstone.
There's a knockout. Draw is a single puzzle of time for Tord. Again, nothing that really matters.
If he could use this puzzle, but that puts him over the threshold of being knocked out by a Trashalanche.
Single puzzle of time allowing you to look at the top 3 and rearrange them, which would potentially help Tord for the next turn, but still, like you said, adding to the item count, taking this turn off.
Needs a supporter here. Finds N.
Does have N. And put the N on top of the deck.
I love Tord. He's going to play it around like it's not N, but
all these cards don't do anything? I don't really care.
It doesn't matter. We'll just leave this one on top.
All right.
Counter catcher really doesn't do anything for him. There's a float stone, the same attacker, and a guy that does even more damage on the other side. So probably just gonna let this Tapu Lele take a shot.
Yep, just retreating, saying, all right, you got it. Passing once again is toward Stephane, back in the driver's seat.
All right, there's potential here. With the Guzma and the unit energy, you can take the knockout on the Zoroark. So there's big plays lined up for sure.
Like Field Blower, going to go ahead and get rid of the Parallel City and Floatstone in play. Bring towards item count in the discard pile up to 8. Here's another Zoroark hitting Stephane's bench.
Yeah, there was even a line for Stephane to remove his own Floatstone. It plays around N, and if you're removing your own, your opponent's only Zoroark, you don't really care if they're using Tapu Lele.
No, he's going to go ahead and choose to take the knockout. One prize remaining between Stephane Ivanoff and the title of International Champion.
He's, oh boy, I need this.
Here we go. Counter catcher and the N. Zora active. Just a lone Zoroark on Tord's side of the board. One single card for Stephane, 6 new ones for Tord. This N is huge.
Yeah, right now Garbotoxin is actually hindering Stephane here. He doesn't have any way to get out of this if these 2 cards that he's going to see, one off of the N and one off of the top deck, don't help him out. Tord, on the other hand, he needs max potion so that he can stay alive through any of this, but playing items gets dangerous. He's already at 9.
Right. Stephane sets his card to the side. Tord, 6 new ones. Let's see what he can put together.
That's a lot of Pokemon, though.
He's going to be able to play cards on his bench. Double puzzle, double Tapu Lele, Ultra Ball. You can see the look on Tord's face.
This is not good.
Not what I wanted to see. Ultra Ball. Coming down, has to at least try to give himself a chance in this game.
Yeah, so if he goes and grabs Zorua here now, uses a puzzle to maybe find a card like Field Blower, he could start to work something. It's hard.
Like he's gonna hang up in a Rangaroo off of the Ultra Ball. Yeah, Toward that 100 damage on that Zoroark GX, stuck in the active position. Things are not looking good for him. Of course, Tord's potential saving grace is the lone card in hand from Stephane.
And if you're Stephane, how have you not looked at that card? I want to know. Everyone wants to know.
He's disciplined, man. He's
what do you have?
Wait for it. He's going to slam it. Next turn. All right, Tord's the 3rd single puzzle of the game. Not exactly how you write up using these puzzles. Double colorless, enhanced hammer, Acerola?
Yeah, that is pretty slow. The honorable Acerola option is available for him.
Looks like he's just going to have to put the Acerola on top, but it might not actually matter. Hammer rearranging, considering his hands at the point in the game where he knows he's very close to losing, but if he's going to win, it's because he's thought this all through and made the plays that play to his outs the most, give him the most win percentage, even if that number is pretty low. Enhanced Hammer stays on top.
Yep. Currently, Enhanced Hammer removes the unit energy, which means that... Oh, is that an energy? He can retreat.
That's the energy. Stephane Ivanoff has dethroned the king and become the North American International Champion in impressive fashion.
There he is. Congratulations to Stephane. Everyone dreams of this moment.
Friendly handshake and the hug. Again, these guys very good friends, exchanging deck lists before the tournament. Tord Reklev finishing in 2nd place. Stephane Ivanoff with his International Championship victory. Wow.